Hello learners, welcome to the MOOC course of Digital Humanities Theory and Practice. Today we are going to discuss a new lesson, that is Introduction to the Digital Textual Databases. So today's lecture focuses on the introduction to the digital textual databases, which is an important topic in the contemporary literary and the digital research. With the growth of technology, the way we read, preserve, organize, and analyze the text has changed the world significantly. Traditional libraries and archives remain valuable, but digital platform has revolutionized the research by making textual materials accessible with just a few clicks. In this lecture, we will understand what digital textual databases are, and their features, type, significance, advantage, and the limitations. Now, can you imagine your university keeping records on the paper or separate Excel sheets? Don't you think it sounds chaotic? Of course it does. Because of the fact that if you are going to do this manually, you need a person who will take care of each and every document, right? Another problem with this thing is that accessibility. Now that person, obviously, since he is also a human being, he also has a physiology, he also has his demands of anatomy, physiological requirements are there, so he has to take a break, right? So that is something which is impossible for a human being to be there in a university 24/7. Of course, he can be on the campus, but he cannot be on the desk, right? So this accessibility is again a big problem. Then, okay, fine. If we were living in, if we were in 1950s, then it would have been possible for a person to collect the data, to store the data, and to retrieve the data in a short span of time. But now we have so much of data that it cannot be stored. So digital databases has a capacity to store the data, right? So you can have enormous data that can be stored in just few files, right? So there are so many advantages, or there are so many conveniences that we can have having our digital databases. Now, what are digital textual databases? Now, a digital textual database is a systematically organized digital repository of textual information that allows reader to store, search, retrieve, analyze, and preserve data electronically, or sometimes text electronically. So basically, it has a very systematic organization, right? It's a very systematically organized digital repository of textual information, and that allows your users to store it, as we discussed, to store in enormous data in just few files, to search. Yes, that will be very easy for because of digital textual databases, and retrieve or analyze and even preserve the text electronically. So that is what digital textual databases are. So let us begin by understanding the concept of a digital textual database in an organized collection of text stored electronically in a systematic manner, so that the user can easily search, retrieve, analyze, and preserve the textual information. Now, these databases contain written material in digital format and make them available for the academic, professional, or sometimes even general use. Right? Now, what are the conveniences that a digital textual database has? First of all, as we discussed, storage. Now, storage is, it preserves the text digitally. Since every file is in the digital form, it's not in the physical form, because when you have the file in the physical form, the physicality has a problem of decaying. Files sometimes get decayed. Then there are problem of termites. So file can be eaten by termites or can be ruined by termites. But here in digital textual databases, a number of files or all the files are stored in a digital manner so that they are completely safe. They are completely preserved in a digital manner that you can you can access those files 100 years later without having any single problem in the data itself, in the file itself. Physical problem. When I'm saying without having problem, that means I'm talking about all the problems that could occur physically, right? Now the next thing that we have with, or the advantage or the next convenience that we have is retrieval. Now when you say retrieval, of course the data, a large amount of data can be retrieved in a very in a spur of moments, with a blink of an eye, right? So we have quick access to the needed material. So if I need a particular file, so I'll simply go to the file and get it. So I can retrieve that easily because I have the quick access to that file. Then we have searchability. Now, as the name itself is self-explanatory, when you say searchability, so I need a file which is out of my 1.5 millions, for example, right? So what I'll do is I'll simply go and search. I'll just type the name of the file and I can get that file. So locating that specific word, theme or passage will give me the exact file that I was longing for. Now analysis, yes, of course, because of the digital textual databases, we are able to analyze the text. We are able to examine the text with the help of digital tools. And how do we do that? Because in the last few lessons we have discussed that we have number of tools that help us in analyzing or examining the text with the help of its theme, with the help of its word count, with the help of the style of the writer sometimes, and sometimes some of the features that cannot be seen through the naked eye, but our digital textual databases help us in identifying those features or those files. Then, of course, preservation. Now, preservation is, of course, as we discussed earlier in the last lesson also, that in digital archiving and repositories, that preserving file is again a very important use of digital textual database. That you can protect the files that are very fragile in nature. Sometimes your texts that are very rare. So, of course, there are texts that are rare in nature. There are texts that are very valuable for us. Of course, since they are rare, they hold certain value, right? So when they hold certain value, so this digital textual database help us in preserving those fragile text. And why do we preserve them? Of course, because they are valuable, and because of the fact they are valuable, and for our future generation, right? Because these days, I'm sure you must have, all my learners, you must have heard about the time capsule, right? Like, for example, not recently, but I mean, a few years back, a former vice chancellor had started a new program, or not a program, but a phenomenon that he actually use a time capsule which has the detail of the Aligarh Muslim University, and he put it in the soil. Now, after 150 years, when somebody needed the history of the Aligarh Muslim University, of course, it is very much available, but still, if a person or our future generation needs that history, so they can get through the time capsule. So these digital textual databases are that only, but in a form of digital, in a form of digitized manner, right? So in the earlier times, researchers dependent on the printed books, handwritten manuscripts, journals, physical archives, and accessing those materials require visiting libraries, archives in person, which often involve time. So you waste a lot of time, or you at least you invest a lot of time there. Then expenses, of course, not because the world we are living here and uh, the times that we are living in, we had inflation is going with this with so rapidly that it's very difficult to even go from one place to another place, especially as a student, as a learner or as a researcher. Because of obviously, when we are a student, when we are a researcher, when we are a learner of anything, so there are limited means. Most of the countries, student who are studying in the public universities or as well as the private universities sometimes, yes. So we come from a very humble background. So it's very difficult for a person to go in person from one place to another place and access those files. And of course, those files have a limited availability also sometimes. So these digital textual databases help us in accessing those certain files. So, for example, if I say if a scholar wants to study the poetry of William Wordsworth or compare the multiple plays by William Shakespeare, so they can access digital databases containing complete text and search specific themes, analyze word usage, and compare the editions or various editions without physically handling printed copies. So, this transformation has greatly influenced fields such as literary studies, linguistics, history, and digital humanities. So, basically, it is a structured collection of electronic data that can be efficiently stored, retrieved, and evaluated, and sometimes updated. Now, why digital textual databases? Because, of course, there are certain reasons for that. Like, first, we have data security and integrity, then, we have multiple users or multi users access, real time processing, and smarter decisions besides the other. So, let's just take the first one, that is data security and the integrity. Now, data security and integrity protects your sensitive personal details. It could be from your Aadhaar details to your bank records, right? So these days, and as we every now and then we get to know of different various sort of scams these days that are done digitally or that are done. I mean, in any, not that digitally, but yes, nowadays we have digitally, but earlier we used to have all the scams physically or manually. So what people used to do is they can simply take the bank details, take your Aadhaar details, and they can use it for their own malicious motives. So digital textual database comes with your data security, and it protects your data or sensitive personal details to you and as well as to the second party with whom you are dealing with. Then another use or another feature of this is that it is a multi-user access. So thousands of learners, thousands of students can use the same network at the same time to access the information without any conflict. For example, if I wanted to read a particular book or a particular chapter or any particular text right now, so what I'll do is I'll simply go to the digital textual database and I can simply search that, I can simply access that. But at the same time, there is another person sitting in Brazil, for example, can access the same data, can access the same particular text at the same time. So this digital textual database is a multi-user thing, which in itself is a fantastic. So you don't have to run along with for just one printed copy, and you have got it you've borrowed it from the library and only you can access that. Now with this digital textual database, anyone and everyone in around the world or across the globe can access a particular file at the same time. So which is one of the wonderful feature of digital textual database. Another feature, or the next feature that is there, is the real time processing. Now when you say real time processing, it is simply as you can see the live data such as the cricket score, for example, or your grades sometimes in your examination, your bank balance, or any other live update in your news feed can be there in your digital textual database, right? For example, we go to the bank. I I go, for example, I went to the bank. I withdrew some money and I got my passbook updated. Now, when I'll get my passbook updated, so it will in within the moments or within few minutes, I can simply get the live data or exactly the position in or exactly the balance that I have in my account. So the idea is that you can access, or it's a real-time processing thing. So whatsoever you are doing, everything is being processed at the same time, or at least in a very updated manner. For example, cricket scores. Now, cricket scores, as we all, as we have, as we, I mean, we all are in a country where cricket is beyond religion, or it is believed to be another religion. So here, for example, if Virat Kohli had scored another century, his, for example, 38th century, today at the moment right now, or he just finishes, or he just scored his 38th century, so that 38th century will be updated in his record. So that is what the power of digital textual database or digital databases, that these are the real time these are the real time processors, or the real time processing is available there. Last but not the least, another feature is, or the reason we should be moving towards the digital textual databases, is the smarter decisions. Now, when we say smarter decisions, it means that various firms and organizations use data to analyze trends, forecast outcomes, and plan their action strategically, right? So what exactly the idea behind this is that when we have databases that are live, that work in a real time world. So many organization, many firms, what they do is they simply analyze the trends. What is popular among the Gen Zs, for example, right? And because of that trend, they will work accordingly. So this digital databases help us in making smarter decisions also. So it's very difficult to conduct a survey through the questionnaire, because that will take a lot of time. So you simply go there, make people fill in your forms, fill in your questionnaires, and then you come up with the respondents' responses, and then you analyze those results. Nowadays, of course, these things are also done digitally, but that all help us in making. And when you do this digitally within a spur of moment and within a very limited time, and make the smart decisions. So this is what institutions and firms are doing these days. So these are the reasons why digital textual or digital databases are helpful for. Now there are certain features that are beyond the previous one, or that are besides the previous one. For example, the electronic storage. Now the first major feature is the digital storage, as we discussed in the beginning of our lecture, that the digital storage is there. Now the texts are stored electronically in formats such as PDF, text files, HTML, XML, EPUB, sometimes OCR. OCR is basically optical character recognition. So you scan the copy, and the scanned file converted through the OCRs. So these digital this is what the feature of, or characteristic of, digital textual database is, that it has electronic storage. So I believe OCR is something which you got that. So OCR is simply an optical character recognition, where you simply uh, convert the scanned printed pages in the into the machine readable text and make them searchable. Right? For example, an old 19th century printed book can be seen, digitized, and stored permanently in a database. Then again, as we earlier discussed, the searchability is something which is again a very great strength of, or one of the greatest strength of digital textual databases. So out of the millions of text that we have, digital text that we have, We can easily search our text and get our results and get whatever the text that I wanted, right? I can simply search through a single word, right? A thousand splendid sun. Now, if I'll simply put splendid, so the text that has the word splendid there, I'll get the list of those texts and I can get that. So that's amazing. I can search through a phrase. So yes, like for example, there are lots of there are a lot of famous phrases or the expressions that are used by numerous authors. So you can and those expressions and those phrases are so popular that you can simply get the text just because of searching that particular phrase, right? Then I can simply locate through the repeated words. Like stylometry can be used there, right? Identifying the themes, compare the vocabulary. So searching through anything and everything. You just need a single word. You just need a single phrase. You just need a single. You just need an. You just need to have you have a theme. You just need to trace a textual patterns sometimes. So you can simply put the textual pattern and you get the text. So this is how your digital textual databases are useful. And this is how it is so advanced that you can simply type a simple word or simple textual pattern and you'll get that. Like for example, hyperbaton. Now hyperbaton is one of the literary devices used by Shakespeare, right? So if you just simply put hyperbaton, you'll the very first example that you'll get is of the Shakespeare, right? So this is what the power of digital textual databases is. Like for example, a researcher is studying imagery in the Shakespeare wants to find references to moon across all his play. So instead of manually reading thousands of pages, digital database provide instant result, right? So this not only saves your time, but it also improves efficiency, right? So this is how it is you this is how it works. Of course, yes, as we discussed earlier, accessibility. Digital textual databases provide excellent accessibility, right? They allow 24/7 access. So sitting across the globe, sitting at any corner, any point in the world, and you can simply access at any time. Remote access. It's not only that if I'm sitting in Aligarh Muslim University and I need to search or I need to access a particular file that is there in the Maulana Azad library, the central library of Aligarh Muslim University. I can access remotely. I can access sitting in Hyderabad. I can access that particular file which is there in the Maulana Azad library by sitting in Bangalore or Srinagar or Kanyakumari or in at any part of the world or any part of the globe. I can simply just few clicks away, just few searches away, I can access those files. So digital textual databases help us in accessing the file remotely 24/7, and not just I can access, but anyone and everyone at the same time. So this has a very unique feature that it is some people, multiple users or various users can access the file simultaneously. So, for example, a researcher, a student in India can access material stored in a library in the United Kingdom or United States through digital databases. And this global accessibility has democratized the knowledge. And this reminds me of one of my this reminds me of one of the instances when I was doing PhD. So I wrote an email to the Royal Asiatic Society for a particular text. I inquired about that particular text. Within few minutes, I checked my mail and I got that particular text. Now, this is what digital textual databases are good for. So it not only saves your time, it not only saves your money, but it makes you work efficiently. Sorry, and it makes you work collaboratively. Then, of course, organization is one of the another characteristics or the feature of digital textual database, that the things the files that are there, the text that are there, are organized in a very particular manner, are organized in a wonderful manner. They can, you can simply search them through the author's name, through the publication year, through title, subject, genre, keywords, language, historical period. So you can simply retrieve your data, because that is organized in a very particular manner, that is organized in a very systematic manner. So you can simply analyze, or sorry, you can simply access your data because it is very much in an organized form. Last but not the least feature of analytical possibility, right, of digital databases is analytical possibility, which means that digital databases are not only good for reading, they are also tool for analysis, right? So it's not only that I needed a particular text and I can simply get that, I can simply access that, I can simply search that, I can simply retrieve that. It's not only for that, for my reading purpose or for the sake of reading I'm doing this. I can use it for my analysis. Researchers who are doing researches in their particular field, in their field, they use it for their own research. They can conduct they can conduct corpus analysis, they can conduct frequency counts of words or expressions, they can conduct discourse analysis, they can conduct computational analysis, text mining, stylistical study, thematic mapping. What not can be done through your digital textual database. So this has opened a new methods of literary criticism and linguistic research. Now, these are some of the types of digital textual databases that we have, which are the bibliographical databases, full text databases, corpus databases, and the archival databases, right? So, out of which, let's just take the first one, which is bibliographic database. Now, bibliographic database contains the abstract and the publication information rather than the complete text, right? For example, Gestor is there, Project Muse is there, Google Scholar is there. Of course, the text is there, but in order to search, in order to access the file, first we don't go and read the whole paper first, right? So what we do is we simply go to the text, or we simply go to the abstract and the publication information rather than the complete text. So, for example, if I'm writing a particular research paper, I need a particular text, a particular research paper also for my literature survey. Now, what I'll do is I'll simply go to the bibliographical databases. Instead of reading that particular research paper, whether it is beneficial for my research or not, that's a different case altogether. That will come later. But first, I need to have the information of that, all right, through which I can access that. So, bibliographical database simply has citations, has abstract and the publication information rather than the complete text, right? And of course, it's the uses or the application of bibliographical database is locating the research articles, literature review, as I discussed, and sometimes a citation tracking also. The next that we have is full text database. Now, full text, as the name itself suggests, full text database means it provides you a complete text rather than the information about the text or the publication, but it provides you a complete text. So, for example, Project Gutenberg, Internet Archive, Hathi Trust that we discussed in the last few lessons or few lectures, right? So researchers can read full work online and download them. Now, another one is the corpus database. Now, corpus databases are large collection of text used mainly for linguistic study, right? For example, British National Corpus, Corpus of Contemporary American English. So these are the few examples. I mean, of course, there are a lot of examples. So I mean, I cannot cover all the examples right now, but these are the one of the major two. These are two of the major examples besides all of them. And the uses of corpus database is simply to figure out the language pattern study, right? to figure out the vocabulary analysis, or sometimes doing an analysis of vocabulary, right? For grammar research. So corpus database is used for such thing. Then we have archival database. As the name it again gives you a hint, archival database means it talks about the archives, right? So these databases preserve the historical records and manuscripts, manuscripts that are rare, records that are very valuable, right? Like for example, in the last chapter, in the last lecture, we discussed in the last class we discussed the Europana, right, or Digital Public Library of America, right? So these databases are very valuable for the historical and the cultural researches. Now the role of digital textual databases in literary research, right? Now, it in literary research, it has a very prominent role, and it of course it has a very prominent role in literary researches, which is simply supports literary analysis, enables comparative studies, help traces themes and statistical patterns, useful for digital humanity and researchers, right? So digital textual bases are especially useful in literary studies because they help the scholars in comparing the editions, right? So like for example, Shakespearean plays. So there are various editions of Shakespearean play. So these digital textual databases help us in comparing the various editions of the Shakespearean play. So you don't have to read each and every, or you don't have to take the print of each and every play edition. You can simply log into this and you can simply get the details, because of course there are so many tools that help us in analysis. So if you're supposed to compare the edition, it is a wonderful tool for you. Analyze the language, right? Sometimes study themes, the tracing the symbolism, conducting intertextual research. Now this is something which is very important. So conducting the intertextual research takes a lot of time. So these tools help you in conducting the intertextual research, preserving literary heritage also, right? So for example, Canterbury Tales. Now the original copy of Canterbury Tales, I don't know whether it is there or not, but I'm sure digital textual database must have a digital copy. I believe, at least I believe that it must have. So for example, using digital textual database, a scholar can compare romantic poetry, Victorian novels, and the post-colonial literature at a large scale, rather than reading just individual books, or rather than reading one or two books in a particular span of time. So this method is closely connected to the modern digital scholarship. Now, of course, as we discuss the features, so there are certain advantages of digital databases. First of all, fast access. So it saves your time. Instead of going from one place to another place, which also takes your money, which also takes your time, which also takes your energy. So you can simply access by just sitting at your computer and you can get the access. So it has a fast access. It has a large collection. So there is a huge textual collection, and without thinking about its physical decay, without thinking about the enormous data, you can simply have because it has a huge collection, you don't have to think about the file size or the large or enormous data. You can simply need your data, you're concerned with that, that's it. Easy retrieval. Yes, of course, you can easily retrieve your data. Better preservation, yes, because in physical form, if a text is in the physical form, so one for a very shorter time, or for a very short period of time, it can be in its good form, but after that it starts ruining. So there are a lot of preservation methods or techniques, but for physical ones, it has a life, it has a shelf life. But for digital one, there is no shelf life. You can, once you have stored the data, you have the data. You can access that in any point of time in your life, right? So better preservation is there. So fast access is there, huge textual collection is there, better preservation is there, cost effective learning resources are there, easy organization is there. So you don't have to prepare a whole catalog as we used to have in the library earlier in a physical form. So there are a number of racks where the number of cards, right? So we don't have to worry about that things nowadays. It is very much, it is very easily organized. And another advantage could be that I can think of right now is it supports interdisciplinary researches, right? So a person who is of one field or one discipline can go to another discipline and can have access to the files of another discipline, to the text of another discipline, and get the work done. That's it. It's just as simple as this, right? So for example, if I need a text from medical sciences, I'm working in medical humanities, for example, so I can simply get the access of that particular file. So it also supports your interdisciplinary researches. It also enables data analysis methods, and it promotes the global scholarship as we discussed a few minutes back. Despite benefits, some limitation remains. Of course, everything has its pros and cons. A few limitations, which are subscription cost. Sometimes the subscription cost is too high, so you can only rely on your institution to get the subscription. So for a learner who come from a humble background, it's very difficult, or it's almost impossible to not impossible, but yes, to it is very difficult to access those files, to subscribe those files, because those journals or those databases are have cost you a lot, right? Sometimes copyright restrictions are there, so that also has a problem. Scanning OCR errors, or sometimes when you scan through OCR, or when you scan the data or text from a machine, OCR machine, or any machine, there could be physical problem that could, a physical error that could occur. The scan is not clear, the image that is being scanned is not clear, so that also creates a lot of problems. So that is one of the limitations. Technological dependence, yes, if you're not well trained in using that technology, then it is going to be problematic for you, and it is going to be difficult for you. You will always be in trouble whether how to use that thing. So one has to be technologically trained, one has to be technologically or well equipped or well trained when it comes to using such resources or such tools. And of course, it has a digital divide, right? And another requires digital literacy. Yes, of course, I mean, as we discussed, it requires digital literacy. One has to be well trained. So thus, so the user, therefore, the user need proper training and critical evaluation skills. Like for some challenges include, as we discussed, subscription cost, copyright restrictions. So these are some of the limitations that we discussed. So I need not repeat this again. Yes, there are future trends. There are future, the scope of digital textual database. Like the first one is the cloud native database. Now, a cloud native database is is designed specifically to work in the cloud or internet based services. So instead of storing the data in one place, it stores and manages data across multiple servers, and it makes it faster, it makes it more reliable, it makes it more it makes it easier to scale easier to scale. So cloud native database is much more faster, much more reliable, much more, and it manages data across the multiple servers. So it's not simply storing the data at one place, but it stores the data at, or it manages the data at the multiple points. Then another one is AI integration, as of course, when artificial intelligence is integrated into a database, it becomes like a smart librarian, and that can understand, that can organize, that can even analyze the information for you. So nowadays, I mean, of course, we have these AI tools which is popularly being used by the students these days, right? So it simply understand, it simply organize, it simply even analyze the data or the information for you. Then real-time analytics, right? Real-time analytics means that collecting, processing, analyzing the data as soon as it is generated. So that the user can get easy information, instant information, and make quick decisions. As we discussed earlier, that it makes you, or it helps you in making smarter decisions. So real-time analytics also analyze the data as soon as it is generated, and it gives you the instant information and make quick decisions. So to conclude, digital textual databases have transformed the digital textual scholarship. They combine the traditional literary study with modern technology, making research faster, broader, and more analytical. They preserve cultural heritage while opening new possibilities for interpretation and the scholarship. In today's academic world, understanding digital textual databases is essential for students, teachers, and the researchers because of the fact that they represent the future of the textual research. So, digital textual database transform the textual scholarship. It combined the traditional research methods with digital technology. And of course, it makes it more accessible, makes it more searchable, and makes it more analyzable. And last but not the least, they are essential tools for the modern academic and literary research. So with this, we come to an end of this lecture. I will meet you in the next week with another lecture on another topic. I believe you will be getting the best out of this program, and I request you to please go through the lecture again and again. And if you have any problem, you can simply email me also. All right. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.